chilly in here.
And I just feel love.
You should just, yeah.
Yes.
You feel comfortable. Oh, you're on air now.
What? I'm not on here. Why is this not working? Maybe you have to tell it to. Maybe put it in PowerPoint view.
Maybe we just can't see it.
Green lights. Should I go get the other one? Huh? Should I go get the other one? This is the fancy one. Do you have, you've got the VGA adapter. Power's on.
Hey, whoever there is.
Yeah, who's going to be over there?
Your special friend?
No.
Who?
All the friends. Shit. Are you going to get one? Wait.
Wait.
Oh, there we go. Oh! Thank you.
You might want to move it farther up.
That's it, right here.
Let's need a lot more people.
You think?
I mean, then many chairs.
There's chairs here.
Yeah.
So, presentation.
I guess so.
This is from the Colorado River.
It's me.
That's you. I saw you walking on campus.
A great overview.
You're really out. That's right. Still organizing, huh?
I expected less people. They're like, what are you doing? You want chairs?
Could be. So how's it going, Dave? What are you up to now?
Pardon?
What are you up to now?
Oh, I do volunteer work. We have a native planters here.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I was interested in this talk. Read a book on the board. Colorado River about how and covered it up. How the canyon formed with a catastrophic flood that
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's one of the theories. Yeah.
Good, how you doing?
Oh, real good.
Great.
So if your specialty is desert herpetology, this is Grand Canyon is your place.
Well, downstream from the canyons.
Yeah.
We're on the receiving end of this.
Oh,
But the canyon is
We
involved.
receive whatever the canyon has to offer.
it's not all sedimentary rock, we've got metamorphic.
The canyon? Yeah, yeah, there is at the base of it. Yeah, that's the lower part. Yeah, yeah. No, people are very interested in when it first broke through to the Sea of Cortez. That's a big debate. And when the plateau was uplifted. And all.
Yeah. So these tributary streams of Colorado seem to be pointing to the stream.
That's right. Yep, yep. No, somehow the Pacific drainage captured the pre-existing internal drainage.
Right.
And the question is, when was that? 5 million, 15, 20, 30 million?
Seemed like it was.
Hey, Jim, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good.
How come you've begun, you've already written that much?
No, I've written just this.
Okay. What volume notebook is it?
I think it might be 65. I put the numbers on that. They're very useful.
Brennan, Angie's watching.
Did you,
Hi,
wrap up your seismic, your earthquake in your office? What inspection you were
Oh, the seismic has been not worried about, but the fire inspector.
Your technical support
I
today.
am. I'm the
Excellent, good for you.
live streamer.
Nice.
Oh,
Oh, the live streamer, so who's checking in?
I know Angie is.
Oh,
I
good.
think there was a whole group of people who wanted to.
Oh,
Shannon
uh-huh.
and
Good, good. Oh, I'm glad to
I
hear
have
it.
cans of kerosene out, so I put them in a pocket, so that's good. But I passed. But he gave me it wasn't a gold star exactly, it was an award for trying. Because I had made some progress, but I don't think he was happy.
On what?
Reducing the fire hazard in my office.
Oh, the fire hazard.
I had so much old
That's
cardboard
so
and
funny.
and piles of paper, which I can
Hilarious.
just throw out now that we have PDFs, which is a great thing.
Oh, I don't even remember 5 days ago.
It's too intrusive.
Hi. Hey, thanks for being here. Oh, I'm glad you made it too. And we're having.
You seem very relaxed. Are you not teaching this time?
Good, good, good. We want two more.
Oh,
So we really help, and we also have others here in line. Yeah, sweet things for dessert, so you're really welcome. Well, then
It's a
have
good
to,
life.
you know, eat and drink in moderation, won't you?
No, I've got red wine.
Oh, it does, yes. Absolutely.
Meetings and overseas trips.
Yeah, the
I
part
remember
where we
you,
enjoyed his
you
meeting.
sat in on my.
I enjoyed him too.
Yeah. I remember your name. I've seen you. So, like I said, there's.
Well, I think I have something that he hasn't thought about. Just come and case files.
2540.
People don't even think about it. So
2540.
I get to come along and do things.
And
I get to come along and screw everything up for them.
do you navigate?
But the audio business.
It's on the south side of Wood House, up in Hendricks Park. It's hard to find. It's hard to find. But if you have a good map, you'll be able to find it. Yeah, absolutely, right. Oh, 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock tonight, yes.
Because there's sequestration on
That's downstairs in the private side.
But I virtually did a bunch of.
It's, okay, we should probably, okay, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I hereby call this meeting to order. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I want to kick it off with a quick introduction of somebody who clearly needs no introduction, and that's Brennan O'Connell, who is going to present the results of her master's thesis research here today. And I just want to quickly say that she came here more than 2 years ago. She arrived in the summer of 2014 and just wanted to get right started on this project, and so she did a bunch of analyses of geochemistry and stable isotopes on some of the carbonates from the Ballast Formation, and generated a really interesting data set that we still haven't really done anything with because it's so complicated, but there's some really good information in there. And as one of the many things that she's done to start opening up new understanding of the Ballast Formation. But after her work on geochemistry and isotopes, she got started on her field work in the field work became the core of her master's thesis. And it's been a delight to watch her take ownership of this project and then open up our eyes to what's actually going on in the Bowles Formation. So I just want to say that a lot of really smart and expert geologists and stratigraphers and isotope geochemists have spent a lot of time looking at the Bowles Formation, and we have stared right at the very same things that Brennan has now shown us actually preserve a record of. I'll let her tell you about that. But the point is that Brennan's research actually is like a game changer, and certainly for me, it's a game-changing move forward in our attempts to understand the enigmatic Bowles Formation. And her paper is in Press in Geology right now. We have the PDF of the page proofs, and it looks gorgeous. And this paper is a result of her incredible accomplishments, her hard work, perseverance, but also her great eyes and her ability to see what's really going on in the rocks. And so she's really taught me a lot about the Bowles Formation. I'm very grateful for that. So without further ado, I just want to also say that there will be a party at my house at 7 o'clock tonight, 2540 Woodland Drive. You should have all gotten that announcement. We have a lot of dessert and beer and wine up there, and I really hope that you'll come to my house tonight and celebrate Brennan's accomplishments. I think that's pretty much it. She's going to tell us about the sedimentology and depositional history of the Miocene-Pliocene Southern Bowles Formation, Arizona and California. Oh, by the way, this will be, this is pretty informal. She'll give a half hour or so talk. People can ask lots of questions afterwards, and at some point maybe the crowd will be invited to drift away while the committee stays and her answer with more questions.
All right, thanks for being here today. And I was going to read the title, but since we did that,
Don't have to.
I will not. All right, so the Bowles Formation is a thin basal carbonate unit overlain by Colorado River sediment, and it records the first arrival of the Colorado River to the region about 5 million years ago. So over the past 20 years, there's been considerable controversy regarding the depositional environments of the Southern Bowles Formation, which is this area, the Blythe Basin. And one hypothesis states the Bowles accumulated in a marine embayment at the north end of the Gulf of California. And this is supported by paleontology. So there are marine fossils in the Bowles Formation. The second hypothesis is that the Bowles accumulated in a large inland lake isolated from the ocean. And this is supported by geochemistry, oxygen and carbon isotopes. And proponents of the isolated lake model here explain the presence of marine fauna in the Bowles by bird transport. It seems a little far-fetched, but the isolated lake model has been the going model for the past 20 years. So the motivation for understanding, or getting to the bottom of this debate, is we want to understand the timing and magnitude of regional uplift. If we can pin this area at sea level 5 million years ago, it suggests significant post-Miocene uplift of the lower Colorado River corridor. And we also want to understand the early evolution of the Colorado River, relatively when did the Colorado River reach the Gulf of California, and what processes were active as this was happening. So, quick talk outline. I'll keep it at 20 minutes, I promise. We can get out of here. I'll give you a quick intro to the geologic setting and stratigraphy of the Bowles. And the rest of the talk will be split into two parts. One, I'll talk about some of the tidal sedimentology seen in the Bowles Formation. And the second part of the talk will be on tidal rhythmites. And the purpose is hopefully, or provide some evidence of Southern Bowles records tidal marine deposition, and it's incompatible with an isolated lake. So this map shows regional faults and outcrops of the Bowles in red along the lower Colorado River corridor. And the yellow represents the Paleo Lakes of Spencer et al. 2008. And we focused our study area in on this southern region, which is enlarged up there. And the royal blue is a trace of the modern Colorado River. And the light blue is the Bowles Formation, which overlies Miocene conglomerates, tertiary volcanics, and metamorphic rocks. So the Bowles Formation includes 3 members. One, the basal carbonate member, which is actually a mixed carbonate and siliciclastic member. And the Colorado River overlies the basal carbonate member, and again records the first arrival of the Colorado River to the region. And the upper bioclastic member overlies the Colorado River siliciclastic member. So this talk will be focusing on the basal carbonate member, which is shown there in more detail. I realize I don't have this. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to be talking to you about some of the sedimentology shown over there in blue. So the first facies group, and a facies is just a distinctive suite of rocks or rock characteristics that record specific sedimentary environments, is the heterolithic facies, and we interpret this facies as recording deposition in the tidal flat. And this is evidenced by abundant flazer, wavy, and lenticular bedding. And these are bedding types with varying amounts of sand and mud, and they reflect varying current energies consistent with tides. And you can sometimes get this type of bedding in non-tidal environments, but you would not expect to see whole rock faces shown here. And also, this is about a 5 meters wall of this type of tidal bedding. So we also have elastomerides burrows, which are marine shrimp burrows common to intertidal and shallow subtidal environments. And we also have couplets of sand and mud at both the millimeter and centimeter scale over there. The shoe is for scale, you can't even see. So overall, this facies records fluctuating current energy, most consistent with tides on a tidal flat environment. So the next facies is the greenstone facies, which we interpret as tidal dunes, both intertidal and shallow subtidal. And the evidence for this interpretation is the sedimentary structures found in these really large-scale tabular crossbed sets. So the tabular nature of the crossbedding points to intertidal environments. There are also abundant examples of paleocurrents oriented at 180 degrees to each other. So this example shows overall migration of dunes toward your left. And then an example oriented at 180 degrees to that. And same over here. And that records deposition by ebb and flood tide currents. And the internal structure of these crossbed sets commonly preserves these lithologic alternations between bioclastic sediment and siliciclastic sediment. Shown right here. So this is a bioclastic layer, this is a siliciclastic layer, bioclastic, siliciclastic. So this is recording varying and regular fluctuations in current energy and also different entrainment potential of the grain types. And perhaps most characteristic of tidal settings or tidal sedimentary structures are these sigmoidal bedding with long alternations of thin and thick layers. And also the internal structure of the sigmoidal bundles reflects varying stages of the tidal flow. And then the last facies that I'll talk about is the lime mudstone, which we interpret as deep subtidal. And it looks pretty boring, but there are actually 2 interesting things about this facies. And one is it records no tidal signature. And also it is we see an abrupt shift between tidal facies and this lime mudstone facies with no signature. And you can walk the contact of this all the way from the basin center to the basin margin. And actually this slope, in that slope are all lime mudstone. So there's some sort of quick shift from tidal sedimentation to non-tidal sedimentation, and it occurs basin-wide at the same time. Right, so I just told you a lot about the tidal sedimentology. That's consistent with tidal marine environments. And you can sometimes find these sedimentary structures in a lake, in non-tidal environments. So the next part of my talk will be tidal rhythmites, which have never been documented in a lake. And they are the strongest evidence for marine tidal influence. And I should mention, though, that while some of these structures are rarely documented in the lake that I just talked to you about, you would probably never be able to preserve such a diverse suite of tidal facies in a non-tidal environment. So we're on the same page with rhythmites and tides. I will give you a quick introduction to both of them. So rhythmites are layers of sediment laid down with some obvious periodicity or cyclicity irregularity. And tidal rhythmites are layers of sediment that track cyclic fluctuations in tidal currents. So tidal cycles are the periodic control on sedimentation. Okay, so let's talk about the tidal cycles. One up here is an example of the daily tidal cycles. So the sun and the earth exert a gravitational force on the earth's oceans, and you get two tidal bulges on opposite sides of the earth. And as earth rotates through these bulges, you get, in most places, 2 tides a day, or the semi-diurnal tide. And often these tides will be, you'll have a high tide and a low high tide, so they're unequal in magnitude. And the next tidal cycle are spring-neap tidal cycles, which occur about every 14 days, related to the phase changes of the moon. So when the Earth, Moon, and the Sun are aligned, you get high-velocity tidal currents. And when the Earth, Moon, and Sun are at 90 degrees, you get low-velocity tidal currents called neap tides. And so if you can imagine, if the tide's moving in and out, going through these cycles, and it's carrying a lot of sediment, so any layer deposited during the spring tide will be relatively thick because high-velocity tidal currents can entrain a lot of sediment. And conversely, during neap tides, you have low-velocity tidal currents, so any layer generated during the neap tide will be relatively thin. So here are 2 examples of tidal rhythmites. Notice this alternation between relatively thick beds and thin beds, thick beds, thin beds. Again, the thin beds correspond to neap tides, and the thick beds correspond to spring tides. And also down here, you see these long series of thin and thick alternations, and these record sedimentation under 2 unequal tides per day. So your high tide is going to deposit this relatively thick layer, and your low tide is going to deposit this relatively thin layer. So when you plot layer thickness against layer number, shown over here, again, you see this oscillation between relatively thick layers correspond to spring tides, and relatively thin layers correspond to neap tides. And then imposed on that are these sort of high-frequency oscillations, which correspond to the daily fluctuations in tides. So to actually test whether you're seeing some sort of like tidal signal within a thickness series such as that on the right, you can do a Fourier analysis, and that examines whether there's any periodicity or cyclicity to the data set. And ideally, in a tidal system, you want 14 couplets per cycle, so you get 2 layers per day, and that would generate neap, spring, neap tidal cycles. You can get more, you can get less, but that's the most ideal case. And rhythmite preservation is often incomplete because either you can't carry enough sediment during neap tides, or the current is too strong and you're eroding other layers during spring tides, or you have some non-tidal processes acting such as storms to get in the way of these perfect sequences. So this is our tidal rhythmite data. On the top up here, we digitized a month of data, or tidal data from the modern Gulf of California. And down here are examples of tidal rim lights. So we examined 3 different types of rim lights. One, horizontal laminations of siliciclastic sand and silt and lime mudstone. These are our first 2 examples. And our third example are the 4 sets of this massive crossbed set, which is about 3 meters thick, with abundant lithologic alternations. And our 4th example is a sigmoidal bundle sequence, shown down here. And then on your right are their accompanying Fourier transforms. So the Gulf of California modern tides show major peaks at 0.52 days per cycle and 1.09 days per cycle. So those reflect this twice daily and the 1 daily component of the tides. And then those pretty much match one of our horizontal peaks, or one of our horizontal thickness series. We see the same peak at 0.52 couplets per cycle and 1.04 couplets per cycle. So this could be reflecting pretty much complete preservation of daily tides within this thickness series of ribbons. So our second example, this horizontal example, shows the same peak at 0.52. And also we're getting some long or low wavelength energy also showing up here, where we see 10 and 6 couplets per cycle. There's some energy at that frequency. And again, I said in the most ideal situation, you want 14 couplets per cycle, but often the mites are incomplete. So again, we're gonna interpret the 6 and the 10 couplets per cycle as reflecting these neap spring neap tidal cycles, and the 0.52 peak as reflecting the twice daily cycle. And then similarly, our crossbed 4 set is the most interesting in my opinion. And notice during high amplitude times, you see this remarkable segregation of lithology, and that's absent during low amplitude times. And so we interpret the relatively thick layers and the lithologic alternations as reflecting sedimentation during spring tides, and the relatively thin layers as reflecting sedimentation during neap tides. And we have peaks, strong FFT peaks at 8 and 5 couplets per cycle, which confirms our tidal. And then what?
Sorry, I just don't know anything about this. So on the first one, A, that's an example of what we see in a system that's well behaved.
That's modern tidal data.
So but like the first B looks very similar in terms of the frequency that here on the
Yeah.
right side.
Yeah.
So that means that that's a good example of what we're seeing in modern day, and then these other ones are not.
No, they're actually pretty good.
Okay.
So
They look
well,
different in terms of
okay, so the Gulf of California tidal data, we only have a month of this time series, because that's not really long enough to resolve these peaks over here, up there. So if we had digitized maybe Europe data, and in retrospect, maybe that would have been a great idea. You want to see a peak over here, around, yeah. But again, like those 14 couplets per cycle, these peaks are really characteristic of tidal midnights. Yeah. Okay, so I forget where I was, but anyway, our last example is this sigmoidal sequence where we see this oscillation between low or very thin beds and thick beds, back to thin beds. And sigmoidal layers are really characteristic of tides, and so to see this oscillation in this bed form thickness series is really characteristic of tides. And we also see a peak at 4 couplets per cycle, which suggests very incomplete preservation, but also I think is sufficient to interpret a neap spring neap tidal cycle occurring in this bed form. And again, these peaks are absolutely incompatible with a lake environment. You would not get this in a lake. So this is the end. The results of my master's, I guess, is that we believe the Bowes Formation is marine, and that is incompatible with an isolated lake environment. So resident elevation of these outcrops suggests about 330 meters of post-Miocene uplift along the lower Colorado River corridor in the past 5 million years. FASO supports significant post-Miocene uplift of Western Colorado Plateau, which is another hot topic of debate. And then this suggests some crustal and upper mantle processes that we don't quite understand to be worked on. So with that, I would like to acknowledge Becky, my advisor, who is permanently featured here in the same get up down to the hiking pool of this man.
Whose name we don't even know.
Gabriel, his name is Gabriel.
Oh, okay.
It was a field trip, but Becky didn't realize they dressed exactly the same the whole field trip. Provided many giggles for everyone. I'm still laughing about it. Thanks, Jean, for your contribution and help on the Fourier transforms and my paper. And Jim, my committee member, Jim, thank you for that help. My field assistants, Christian, Jordan, Avery, and Logan, I appreciate your help a lot. Sergio, Langitano, Steve Hasiotis, Eric Wall, Amanda Thomas, and 2 anonymous reviewers helped both in MATLAB and title segmentology for the paper that is now in press. And I'd also like to thank my undergrad advisor, Paul Myro, who taught me how to recognize title. That's the only reason I'm here giving this talk today. And I'd also like to thank many of my friends, my weightlifting team, Steven, my best friend Devin, my Slytherin dungeon office mates, ladies of Riverview who are watching, Anna, Angie, Kristen, Shannon, Karina, Ellen, our lovely friend who is now past Kayak, and my best friends back home. And thanks for coming, listening to me ramble. Okay.
What about all the fossils?
Well, yeah, right? I guess I forgot to mention that this title.
There's a few fossils in there. But what puzzles me is the upper mile doesn't have any fossils in it. Do you think that's tidal too?
No, not tidal. There's no tidal signature structures.
No tidal in the upper mile.
Yeah.
I'm talking below the classic member, the upper part of it. You showed 2 units. One unit had all the tidal stuff in it.
Yeah.
Well, it actually had 4 units, but
Okay. This unit.
that unit there, that has no fossils in it at all, right? That lime mudstone face.
Maybe like a little bit some clams and snails.
There are some things in there.
Sparse.
Sparse.
Someone found a shark tooth while we were out there. So
Oh, they
said-
did.
Yeah.
Oh, where?
And Chris has some microfossils.
Yeah, and definitely.
And there are some.
Oh, yeah.
There are some forams in there.
Yeah, lots.
So could that be estuarine? I mean, could that be somewhere in between? Because you can still have tides in an estuary. It doesn't have to be completely open to the ocean now.
Yeah,
Like-
but the first indication that this is a major estuary is when you first arrive, or when the Colorado River sediment first arrives up here. Down here, which is maybe about 15 meters thick, there's no indication that there's any sort of major river system coming into this. There's probably tributaries feeding into the side of the basin, but no indication the Colorado River is there at all. It was making its way down, I think, but this is pre-Colorado River, Gulf of California. What's represented in the blue over here, I think. And then,
The lower stuff.
this lower stuff is the pre-Colorado River, Gulf of California. And then this siliciclastic member records what I think is the first arrival of the Colorado River to the Gulf of California.
So there wasn't another route. Did it go somewhere else in that time, or did it simply?
Who knows? No.
It's worth just quickly noting that for a long time, people have interpreted this whole basal carbonate member to record deposition in the waters of the first arriving Colorado River. So that's another major shift in Brennan's work and in this interpretation to really make this all prior to arrival of the river. Where the river went before that time has been the subject of a lot of study, but it didn't have to go anywhere actually during late Miocene time.
This is as recently as 5 million.
Well, prior to 5. Yes, by 5, but maybe not. These rocks are not necessarily. These rocks are maybe 5.5 to 6 million years old. And so that's right around the time of the first arrival of the river. And prior to that time, the Colorado Plateau may have been dry and not producing enough water to even get off the plateau.
So you're saying that's what I was asking, not just here.
That's right.
Possibly over.
Different people have different ideas about that.
Added to the bucket of topics.
And then, confused, I guess, about how 7 people are down story. Like, in my mind, stronger currents, the road sediment, and suspend sediment. How's that going to get down so that you would take a picture?
Yeah, but sometimes during like really high, both. So there's traction transport, and then there's also mud and suspension. So sometimes you'll get like a layer of sand overlain by a mud layer that drops out when the tide reaches high tide, and it's like goes still, and everything falls out, and that's when you get your layer. It can, yeah. Sometimes during your highest spring tides, you can erode some of the underlying sediment, which is often why these sequences are incomplete. Yeah.
And then also the layer that you just drop down, when the tide comes out the other way, is it not just going to sweep away everything that just got deposited?
It can, yeah. It's up there.
Yeah.
And these are tidal ridonites are rarely positive because of many of the things you're mentioning. I can think of like 5 or 6 examples from the western U.S. where we have tidal ridonites. And just think of all the area that has been underwater.
The fact that you're seeing individual traffic, it's 720 half daily times a year. Years. It could be a million.
We also asked to get 0.52, you have that continuous sedimentation. And you have, during those periods of time that you're measuring, there has to be no gaps in there.
Right.
The event marker. So
Yeah.
if you had a hiatus at any time, you would break that. That's part of the market.
Yeah.
Constant sedimentation towards every single line. Situates.
Yeah, so you're recording little glimpses of time where you have enough sediment, you have enough accommodation space, you're not having any, no storms are rolling through and messing this nice sedimentation pattern up, and that's rare.
Does anybody here know if there were any tidal sediments that formed in pre-Cambrian that would give a record of the moon?
Oh, yeah. There are tidal ridonites, and people use that to figure out the length of the.
She started one. Williams has done one. George Williams. She had one.
So it went faster, or moon went faster?
It was closer, and the year was shorter, and everything was different. Maybe, but it's hard to figure out. Because I was on a macrop in South Africa this summer, and we all counted it and came up with different numbers.
That actually kind of gets to my question. So, different ecologists and geologists we have the same rocks. I'm curious because other people have come to this place before, probably in sections of this area before, and they've come to a completely different understanding about going on here. So part of your scientific argument has to be explaining the misconceptions that the previous workers have, because they're not areas, right? They're just wrong. And so I'm curious, how the previous workers in this area misconceive the structures that you're seeing based on. How did they interpret what's going on there? All the misconceptions?
I think people really haven't looked that closely at the sedimentology unit.
They haven't measured sections, actually.
Oh, okay.
So it's,
Mindy did a little bit, but, yeah, and then they came at the lake versus marine argument from like maybe a geochemical perspective or paleontology perspective. And I think there's one person before me who recognized some tidal sedimentary structures, but people sort of just swept that under the rug and said, oh, you know, I can give you a few papers where these structures have been found in lakes, and so you can't use that to say that this is marine, but the whole assemblage is tidal, and the pervasiveness and the amount of structures and how they relate to each other wouldn't be found in the lake, or has never been documented in the lake. Yeah, and then the tidal limits, you can't get them.
So it's just a lack of
Yeah, well, they looked at other features, I guess, the geochemistry in them.
how would you explain the data?
You can post depositional alteration, mixing between spring water, fresh water, river water. I think there are a lot of ways you can explain sort of ambiguous geochemistry, and there are no other ways to explain the sedimentology other than marine.
Is it possible that if alternating between the lake and marine, I mean, estuaries do that, you can lock them, for example, and then make the water becomes fresh for a while and then they're open to the ocean again? Is it possible that is there any evidence that it alternated between marine and non-marine?
Chris McDougall's looking at some forams, and at one point she had interpreted a shift from a marine sort of environment up into an isolated lake environment.
but that was at the transition from the limestone to the overlying clay stone.
Right about here. But there's no real evidence for alternation between an estuary and an isolated lake in the sedimentology, at least, of the basal carbonate, but it does happen, that kind of situation can happen.
What sort of peaks might you expect if you did a Fourier transformation of the lake unit?
They wouldn't get in because any sort of cross bedding would be generated by random events such as storms or wind tides, which are not cyclic. So, you wouldn't get,
So the transform would just show noise with no peaks jumping
no
out?
peaks. But you can get maybe some seasonal deposition, which may show that peak at 0.52, 0.5, something like that. But you wouldn't see the peak close to 14 within that sort of week to week type of cycle. And especially because those peaks are showing up on tidal sedimentary structures. There's nothing to explain.
I'm very new to asking this question. How often do you see carbonates that?
Oh, I think I do a lot. Yeah.
I have a general question.
Yeah.
Why is it that there's tidal bulge on both sides of the earth at the same time?
Oh, Stumper. Oh, geez. I just read this.
Anti-gravity. Maybe not.
Jeez. I'm yeah.
You can Google it later.
I'll Google it later. Nice one.
I've wondered that
I have
too.
another question.
Yes.
So you showed the modern tides, which is a nice, clean thing. How about sediments that are laid down in a modern environment in a tidal setting? What do those look like? Are
They look pretty similar to what we find here. Are you talking specifically about?
they? Go to the geology paper figure.
Which one?
The multi-panel figure.
ones.
Yeah, so the top figure is the actual measured, water surface.
Yep.
Whereas the bottom ones are sediment thicknesses.
Yep.
How about sediment thickness in the modern tidal environment?
Yeah, you get,
And you get good, clean.
often, so you can see similar peaks. I'd say 14 again is ideal. But even the Bay of Fundy, which is obviously tidal, is you don't even get complete preservation of these
So
units.
it truly is a unique sedimentary sequence in the geologic record.
I mean, you can see these tidal midnights in a lot of modern tidal environments, but they're often not incomplete. Not complete. Yeah, and this is.
So what was going on to allow that sedimentation rate to continue? But I like that much variance.
Well, based on Mindy's work, that's Becky's last grad student, she found this basin was subsiding during deposition, so it's creating a lot of accommodation space. So that allows the sediment to accumulate very rapidly under high sedimentation conditions.
But it still doesn't completely answer the question of, these are very high accumulation rates.
Yes, for sure.
So why, were those sustained over long periods of time?
I think the base of the basal carbonate are all those tidal facies. I mean, we have no way of knowing actually how much time is represented by them, but they accumulated relatively quickly, probably, or at least what's actually preserved accumulated quickly, but that might encompass a lot of time. And you're only preserving like little random snapshots here and there where you actually get these features preserved. Yeah, does that answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say, what is the cumulative thickness of this formation?
I think the basal carbonate unit doesn't get any more than about 15 meters thick. Relatively thin. Maybe 30 meters total with all the siliciclastic sediment and all the bioclastic sediment of the upper member.
How about in the subsurface?
Oh, it gets up to 200 meters deep, something like that, in the middle of the basin where they were drilling. Anyway, I just look at the sediment that's preserved along the basin margins.
Well, it sounds like people are pretty satisfied, so let's give Brennan another hand. Right. I hope you come to my party tonight. We have lots of cake, beer, wine, and so should we chat?